He's cowardly, corrupt, and with a love of the lash. That's right, today we're going to talk about the life, campaigns, and most importantly, the medals of Richard Sharpe's noble-born nemesis and arch-villain, Sir Henry Simmerson. So for this to work, we have to be a bit creative and imagine that Sir Henry Simmerson, after the Napoleonic Wars, was able to pull a few strings at court and use his influence to restore his previous reputation as a distinguished soldier. We then have to assume that he lived to a ripe old age in the 1840s. This was when Queen Victoria retroactively issued medals to veterans of the Napoleonic Wars. The Sharpe series on TV and the Bernard Cornwell books give slightly different narratives on Sir Henry Simmerson's career. This is because the character, so excellently portrayed by Michael Cochrane, became so popular on the TV screen series, TV writers brought him back into additional shows due to viewer demand. The following is a boiled-down account of his career. Simmerson's career witnesses extraordinary highs and lows. Starting out as a colonel of the South Essex Regiment in 1809 in Spain during the Peninsula War, after losing the King's colours and shamelessly abandoning his men in the face of a French column at Talavera, Simmerson then crops up as a political agent or commissioner in Spain in 1812. After causing more harm than good, and with his Teflon-like talent for squirming out of any real punishment, we again see Sir Henry pop up back in England in 1813, involved in a recruiting scam, funneling recruits for the South Essex into less popular regiments for cash. As an aside, after his disgrace at the Battle of Talavera, Simmerson is also alluded to have had a temporary career change as a tax collector, something no doubt he would relish. Finally, when Sharpe travels on a mission to India in 1817 to rescue his old comrade Patrick Harper, Simmerson once again turns up. Incredibly, in his final iteration, Simmerson turns up as a general in India in the Honourable East India Company in 1817. What a remarkable career! In the space of 8 years, Simmerson has gone from a disgraced colonel to a general in the East India Company. It's hard to imagine Simmerson, in between his hobbies of running scams and harassing servant girls, that he would find time for all this. Medal number 1. The Military General Service Medal. No doubt, with a cousin at Horse Guards, Simmerson was able to wangle a medal when they were struck in the 1840s for his heroics at Talavera. The Battle of Talavera was a 2-day engagement over the 27th and 28th of July 1809. The town of Talavera, located southwest of Madrid, was a strategic position that both sides sought to control. Holding Talavera for the British and Allies would provide a significant advantage in the campaign to liberate Spain from French control, and for the French, this location was of tactical importance in protecting Madrid, occupied by Napoleon's brother, Joseph Bonaparte. British forces joined Spanish troops under General Gregorio de la Cuesta to confront the French. The Allies numbered around 55,000 troops, compared to the French's 46,000. The battle began when the French crossed the Alberche River, dividing the forces on July 27th. The main French attack occurred in the evening, targeting the high ground on the British left flank. Although briefly capturing the ground, the British managed to recapture the position late on in intense fighting. On the morning of 28th July, the French again attacked the British left flank. Sustained British volley fire led to the French infantry attack breaking up. The French then unsuccessfully launched a broad frontal assault on the British centre and Spanish. Again, they were beaten back. Obviously, we know from the Sharpe series that the South Essex also had a crucial role here, beating back the French column with a series of deadly well-aimed volleys and finishing off with a bayonet charge. It was at the sight of this French column that Simmerson fled, along with his nephew, leaving Sharpe to pick up the slack, steady the ranks and capture a French eagle. By nightfall, the French withdrew, leaving their wounded and 2 brigades of artillery behind. The Allies held their positions, owning the field. The battle resulted in over 7,000 French casualties, 6,200 British and 1,200 Spanish casualties. Wellesley was later ennobled as Viscount Wellington of Talavera for his leadership in the battle. Perhaps back at Horse Guards, Simmerson's cousin managed to doctor the after-action review or report of the battle before the king saw it, and explain how, due to Simmerson's brilliant leadership and expert training of the South Essex in being able to fire 2 rounds a minute on a good day, helped win the battle and saved Wellesley's bacon. The medal itself, made of silver, the medal was issued in 1847 for campaigns in the French and Revolutionary Wars between 1793 and 1814. There are 29 battle or campaign clasps. The maximum number of clasps going to one medal being 15. Clasps awarded to specialist units or small detached forces are more highly valued than other medals awarded to principal regiments involved in a battle. Some Royal Navy and Marine units were also awarded this medal for operations in the Far East and the Caribbean. Simmerson would have received the Talavera clasp. The obverse shows a young Queen Victoria and the reverse the Queen bestowing laurels on a kneeling Duke of Wellington. Around the circumference is inscribed, "To the British Army." Although the dates at the bottom state 1793 to 1814, the earliest campaign which this medal was awarded for was in 1801 for Egypt. Interestingly, the medal was also awarded for the American War of 1812, with clasps including Fort Detroit. The ribbon is crimson edged with dark blue. For his next role as a political officer in the Salamanca region in 1812, it's unlikely that Simmerson would have been awarded any medal. Political officers were commonly used in the British Empire, especially in India. Their primary task would be to facilitate and cultivate relations with local key leaders and dignitaries. By identifying persons of influence, a political officer could perform effective human terrain analysis of an area of operations. This information would be crucial in informing the force commander, such as Wellington, about which appropriate point of contact to approach for certain requests, such as providing fodder for the army, where best to billet troops, or who to approach locally to buy supplies. The political officer would also serve in a local diplomatic role, smoothing out or resolving any issues between local residents and the army. When I think of Simmerson, smooth as sandpaper comes to mind, but maybe that's just me. Like Wellington's engineering and survey officers, such as Major Hogan, a political officer's coat might ostensibly button over a number of other Cladstein functions. This could be establishing a network of sources or informants in an area, producing intelligence reports for higher command, or carrying out other sensitive information requests. With his propensity for long boorish speeches, hard work ethic, cultural sensitivity, and expert previous experience liaising with Spanish guerrillas, no doubt Simmerson was ideally suited to this role. We then see Simmerson arriving in India in 1817, during the period of the Third Anglo-Maratha War. This was the final and decisive conflict between the British East India Company and the Maratha Confederacy in India. This will be where Simmerson earns his second medal. Medal number 2, the Army of India Medal. This medal was issued for one of 4 wars in South Asia: the Second and Third Maratha War, Burma, and the War in Nepal. The British East India Company sought to expand its control over India and viewed the Maratha as a significant obstacle. The Maratha Confederacy, once a dominant power in India, had been weakened by internal conflicts and previous wars with the British. With Maratha authority waning, the British were concerned about Maratha support for the Pindaris. The Pindaris were a group of irregular horsemen who regularly raided British territories along the volatile border area. This led to the British setting up a series of forts to protect their territories. The British were to use these raids and the continuing instability of the area as a pretext for the war. A Maratha leader, Baji Rao II, along with other figures, formed the united front against the British. The British, under Governor-General Francis Rawdon Hastings, launched a military campaign to subdue the Marathas. This led to a series of battles that ultimately resulted in British victory and the formal end of Maratha rule in India. One of the more significant battles that Simmerson could have been involved in as a general is Mahidpur. This occurred in December 1817. British forces, led by General Thomas Hislop and maybe his chum Simmerson, faced off against the Maratha forces under Maharaja Malhar Rao Holkar III, who was only 11 years old at the time, along with his commanders Hari Rao Holkar and Bhima Bai Holkar. The battle began with the Maratha artillery launching a fierce attack with a long line of 63 cannons. At one point, British forces were on the verge of defeat. However, a crucial turn of events occurred when Ghaffar Khan, a traitor in the Holkar's camp, deserted with his forces, significantly weakening the Maratha position. This allowed the British to regroup and launch a decisive counterattack, ultimately leading to the defeat of the Holkar army. The British victory at Mahidpur was instrumental in breaking the power of the Marathas and consolidating British control over central India. We can imagine Simmerson in later years, over a brandy and choice cigar in the officers' mess, recounting to a fawning audience of junior subalterns how he was in the thick of the action. The medal itself? This was the last of the medals authorised in connection with the Napoleonic Wars in 1851. It was not awarded without a campaign clasp. The clasps were issued different to other medals in being issued with the most recent clasp at the bottom rather than at the top. In total, 4,500 medals were issued to European and Indian troops. Multi-clasps are rare. For Mahidpur, in Simmerson's case, 75 medals were struck for surviving veterans. Made of silver, the obverse is a profile of a young Queen Victoria, and the reverse is a seated figure of Victory beside a palm tree with a wreath in one hand and a laurel crown in the other. 1799 to 1826 is engraved. The ribbon is pale blue. Finally, and incredibly on Simmerson's general's uniform, is what looks like a Most Noble Order of the Garter. Instituted in 1348, this is one of the highest decorations in the United Kingdom. With friends at court and his talent for creeping up to social superiors, no doubt Simmerson was able to smooth talk his way into obtaining this exclusive decoration. The award is confined to the reigning sovereign, the Prince of Wales, and 25 other knights, and is the personal gift of the monarch. Occasionally, there have also been extra knights. More interestingly, foreigners have also been awarded the medal, such as the Sultan of Turkey. According to my trusty Token Publishing Medal yearbook, which I have used for research in this video, Emperor Hirohito of Japan was awarded the Order of the Garter in 1922, and then, for being a naughty boy, had it revoked during World War II. And finally, the medal was re-awarded to Hirohito in 1971. Winston Churchill was also invested with the insignia originally presented in 1702 to his ancestor, the Duke of Marlborough. The award contains a garter, collar chain, collar badge and a sash with a badge. The star that Simmerson wears consists of a silver 8-pointed star with the cross of St. George in its centre, surrounded by the Latin motto translated as "Evil be to he who evil thinks." Modern recipients include Tony Blair, John Major and Andrew Lloyd Webber. In summary, for our arch-villain and cowardly cad, we have the Military General Service Medal, the Army of India Medal, and the Most Noble Order of the Garter. Thanks for watching. I hope you found some value from this, and I'll see you in the next one.